Happy Friday, fellow sports fans. Happy Friday, fellow sports fans. You can see by my clickbaity expression, I actually don't know how I feel about the Toney trade. So they say you have to look at things as sunk costs. The Giants' previous regime, I'm all like week 7 recap and just jumping into the Toney trade. What week 7? You gotta live in the present. So they say you have to ignore sunk costs. The previous regime spent a 20th overall pick on Toney. So they say that doesn't matter. At this point, he's just Kadarius Toney, and you get the most you can for him. That being said, it does matter. We live in a social media world where Twitter exists, and the Giants most likely aren't going to win the Super Bowl this year, so they do want to win the hearts of their fans over. So we currently have Wandale, who's looking good, Slayton, who's shown signs of life, Galladay, who doesn't exist, David Sills, who shouldn't exist, and Richie James, who should be our wide receiver number 5. And he's our leading receiver. So Wandale has looked good, but has been hurt. Slayton hasn't been consistent enough to depend on him. We're making a playoff run, therefore we need a receiver. If Galladay is making a miraculous recovery, awesome. No one thinks that's going to happen. Therefore, Kadarius Toney needs to play. We traded Kadarius Toney. Therefore, we need to get another receiver. So I was looking in to see what the value would be like, because it's a conditional third. So it's because the Chiefs lost their someone to become a GM of the Bears or something. So we'll be getting somewhere from pick like 97 to 100 after the third round. So I looked in 2021, and it's pretty slim pickings after pick 97 down. There was a solid dude, Ifeatu Melifonwu, which is now the second time I've successfully said his name on the pod. He is the younger brother of Obi Melifonwu, who was notably taken by the Raiders as a safety out of UConn after breaking Byron Jones's combine records. Vertical jump, broad jump through the roof, 6'4" safety. And Ifeatu is a very toolsy corner. So that would have been a fun person for the Giants to have. They haven't had a big, scary corner in a while. That would have been dope. That's, again, if this has been happening in 2021. Like, this is what it would look like in 2021. Baron Browning, didn't know who that was at the time. Just saw him flashing the other day for the Broncos. He set the record for, most pressures with less than 15 pass rushes. He had, 6 pressures in, 11 pass rushes. It was ridiculous the other day. Randy Gregory couldn't play, so everyone thought it was going to be a win for the other team. I think it was that poop bowl when everyone hated so much on Thursday Night Football. I'm pretty sure that's what it was. Whatever that was, Broncos, whoever no one cares about. What was that? Overtime. Come on, Graham. You can do this. You're sober. You're clear. You took a cold shower this morning? No, it can't. But it was a terrible game. Both quarterbacks are bad. Matt Ryan. Colts Broncos, poop bowl of the year, poop bowl of the decade, poop bowl of the century. One of the worst things we've all been a part of. Baron Browning was showing up. So that would have been a cool person for the Giants to snag if this happened in 2021. And then Amon-Ra St. Brown. But that was a little farther down. We're talking about pick 97. I believe he went 112. So that would be kind of a stretch at that point. But if you are targeting a receiver, he would have been the guy. He was the second receiver taken. So maybe he wouldn't have been the guy, but he could have been the guy. And I am a firm believer of people with brothers and cousins with NFL ties. The Giants drafted Cordell Flott, a kind of unheralded corner this past year, who's the cousin of Velus Jones. So it's quite possible the Giants believe in that as well. In 2022 is a lot better. The very first conditional pick was Brian Robinson out of Bama. Dude got shot in the foot and still looks good. One of the next guys who was around was Jeremy Ruckert from Ohio State. Big tight end, can pass block, or at least in college, can pass block and run routes. Looks solid. Tight ends take a while to develop. He hasn't done anything yet, but that also doesn't mean he can't do anything. That light is driving me crazy. Speaking of tight ends taking a while to develop, there are 3 tight ends that were drafted this year that have already made an impact. They were drafted past 97. Cade Otton, Daniel Bellinger, and Isaiah Likely. The Giants actually got one of those, so it shows they do target tight ends in – this is awful. They do target tight ends in those rounds. What am I doing here? Audible. Just gonna stand. best podcast ever. Can I do this? I'm gonna kneel. I'm gonna fucking kneel. Nailed it. Like I can't stand to hold the laptop and look at my phone. So yeah, there are a bunch of tight ends. So it's not like we actually need a tight end receiver. We need a pass catcher or a playmaker. Like you look at the Chiefs, they don't have really great receivers, but they have Travis Kelce, which makes the Mahomes magic happen. They also have Jet McKinnon, Isaiah Pacheco, and CEH. Isaiah Pacheco was taken in the 7th round this year. That's another example of someone you can have. Cade Otton hasn't shown great things, but he is playing. They have Kyle Rudolph and Cade Otton's playing. Kyle Rudolph literally on the Giants last year looked washed, but also is a 6'6", 260-pound beast who can moss you and block. So he's not the end of the world. There's some other ones taken too. Dane Belton, who's like our starting safety to replace Jabril Peppers. Eric Azukanma, who flashed big time for the Dolphins this preseason. Romeo Dubes, who flashed in the preseason. Who flashed in the preseason. Dobbs. You talk about him all the time. How do I not know this? Who flashed in the preseason and in the regular season, he's done well. That being said, he's similar to the Amon-Ra situation, except way more extreme. He was taking pick 132 versus around the 97 range. So clearly he just wasn't on our range. It's not like you can say everyone who's available past that range. It does have to be a certain amount of like hype or people knowing about them. Like Daniel Bellinger was a name I'd heard around draft time. Like, oh, people saying he's similar to Dawson Knox. Like, I knew who that was. I knew who Ruckert was. I knew who Danny Gray was. Didn't mention him yet. Big fan Danny Gray. Knew who Dameon Pierce was, who's available. So those are some dudes. It's 2022. It looks a little better. I looked up 2023, and I'm not a huge college football fan, but there was not a single name I knew. So starting at 97, if you look at a mock draft, there's Jalen McMillan from Washington. There's Antoine Wells Jr. from South Carolina. And there was one who flashed Jacob Cowing from Arizona, projected to go 115 to Arizona. So he is the most enticing one I saw. I didn't look up highlights of all these dudes. I'm not that much of a loser. I do have a job, a girlfriend, and I'm moving. But Cowing went to UTEP and then transferred to Arizona this year. In his junior year at UTEP, he had 1354 and 7 touchdowns, 19.6 average, career average of 17.2. Definitely a field stretcher, even though he's just 5'11". And then this year for Arizona, he's already up to 737 and 7 touchdowns. He's definitely producing. He also had last year 4 carries for 75 yards and a 53-yard touchdown. So dude's definitely explosive. So that's one player who caught my attention. Zay Flowers is supposed to be pretty good from Boston College. This year he's got 700 yards and 6 touchdowns. He's 5'10". So like, it's not that, height, all that kind of stuff matters, but I do watch some Sports Center now and again. He did make an unbelievable 57-yard touchdown that I just saw, but he's not someone who's like making the national news. He's not playing for a powerhouse, and his size doesn't blow off the tape. Like, it does matter that we currently have Slayton, who's 6'1", or I think 6'2", 6'1". Wandale, who's not big at all, and Galladay, who's 6'4", but not really doing anything. And Richie James and Sills are small. So it would help to have a traditional receiver number 1. Then there's Raheem Jarrett from Maryland. Maryland's, not a great school, but he did well. He had 829 last year and 5 touchdowns, 6 feet, 190. So not prototypical, but like a DJ Moore kind of guy who can get it done. And then, by the way, that was cheating. That guy was a 3rd-round pick. So that they would have had to trade up to get him. Then Kanata Mumfield from the Pittsburgh Panthers is 6'1", 180, and would have been available with the pick we would be getting, but only has 267 yards this year. Last year, he had 751 8. Also, he's a junior, so he might not even come out. Basically, it just goes to show it's kind of a crapshoot in those later rounds. Aeneas Smith from Texas A&M, who's an explosive offense. Those kind of people can be fun, but also you don't know. I had my questions about Patrick Mahomes. I didn't watch tape. I just heard, because I'm an idiot, I just heard that he's similar to Josh Allen, watched Josh Allen, fell in love with him, and then knew that Allen was gritty at Wyoming, whereas Mahomes played at Texas A&M, which is an air raid. My knee hurts, and they don't always trust air raid players. So Aeneas Smith is an air raid player, not producing. He's 291 yards and 2 touchdowns this year, and he's only 5'10". So not someone who pushes the needle for me. I would not be excited about trading Toney for another prospect. So the next one is Parker Washington. He goes to Penn State. 388 this year, 5'10", 215. That's also a weird sizing. Dude's pretty big for someone who's that. Marvin Mims Jr. or Marvin Mims, I'm not sure. Goes back and forth. Oklahoma, so big school, 5'11", 184, 542 yards this year. So that's kind of exciting. Let's see if he's related to Denzel Mims. That would be fun. Yes, Denzel Mims is the brother of Marvin Mims. So that would be a fun one to have. And then there was Dante Demas, which is the one that really gets me going. Let's see where he was projected to go. He was definitely not in the fourth round, or the conditional third, as we call it. Yeah, he was projected to go 45th overall. So of course he's 6'4" and all exciting. Went to Maryland. Actually hasn't done much this year, so it's possible he will fall. Also, he plays for Maryland, so they probably just don't have a quarterback. Also, that's the second receiver I've mentioned from Maryland, so he should have more than 146 yards and 1 touchdown. Hopefully he's hurt, or hopefully he's not hurt, is just being a dick and not caring, and is a superstar like Toney, and then Daboll can actually get something out of him. Yeah, I already touched on Jalen McMillan, Marvin Mims. There's a sale I just made. And then Jalen Moreno Cropper, doing well this year, 511 yards and a touchdown, 6 feet 180, Fresno State Bulldogs, 4th year. So the fact he didn't come out last year after 899 and 11 touchdowns makes me think he's more of a grinder. He has kind of a Sean Alexander face, so not someone I would have been excited to. Kind of poofy, he doesn't look like an athlete. Like, obviously, he's a grown ass man, could probably knock me, but looking at that photo, I would square up against him. So you're going to want to get someone like Kadarius Toney, who's got that intimidation factor. The thing is still the light. Oh, my God. Anyway, what the Giants should do is, now that they have that extra third and have had some extra pieces in the past, they moved down twice last year. They have some extra pieces. Now is the time. So you had the 20th overall, and you got Toney. Then you traded Toney for a third and lost a receiver that we need. So now it's time to trade that conditional third and something else to get a receiver. There have been talks of that a move about to get Jerry Jeudy. People have mentioned getting Chase Claypool, and people have mentioned getting either Denzel Mims or Elijah Moore. Please do not get Denzel Mims. I do not want another washed dude who maybe doesn't love football. Like, might as well keep Toney if you're going to try and revive Denzel Mims' career. Elijah Moore is a great route runner. I think he's super good. Not necessarily the kind of person I'd want for Daniel Jones. He already has like a route runnery type guy in Wandale and a fun dude. Maybe that would be cool because they're both tough to guard. But the Giants' offensive line hasn't been great. I do want someone who can do the jet sweeps like Wandale does, maybe some backyard potential, or can make a broken play work. So if Jones is rolling out and no one's really open, somebody can just throw it up to. You can't throw it up to Wandale. We need someone who can throw it up to. So Jeudy can moss people. He's only 6'1". Jeudy can moss people. Chase Claypool is 6'5". He can moss people. So as much as I like Elijah Moore, I really do want the Giants to get Chase Claypool or Jerry Jeudy. I think Claypool makes the most sense. Looking into prospects from next year, there could easily be someone in that class the Giants like, and most of them are 6'1" or under. Actually, all of them were, except for the 6'4" guy who's supposed to go 45th. So they'd have to trade up again to get him. And they would never receiver this year. So it is possible, they do both. It's possible they let Slayton go. So this year they would get, say, Jeudy or Claypool, and then Slayton and Wandale. But then next year, Slayton's gone. So then they're stuck with Wandale and let's say Jeudy, and they need to get a third. The third is likely 6 feet or under. So we got 3 receivers who were 6'1" or under, not a dominant tight end and not a dominant quarterback. Saquon's been one of the best running backs in the NFL. Daniel Jones has been very, very above average. But with a decent line and a decent quarterback, you want to have a receiver who scares the crap out of you. Wandale's really good. I like Wandale going forward. I remember saying earlier in the year, I think for the next 5 years, Wandale and Toney were a top 5 combination. Those dudes are super athletic. Most teams don't have a cornerback who can guard both of those easily. That same would be true with Judy, but I do think the third receiver we add to complement them works better with Claypool. Claypool has been playing the big slot this year. Deontay Johnson is capable of the slot, but prefers being on the outside. So you got Pickens and Deontay on the outside, Claypool 6'5" in the slot. He could be like our backup tight end too. He could be not like as tight end one, but you could put him in like a tight end, like a formation, or like put him in the slot, run to his side and kind of have him chip. Like he's a huge dude. And he can be our number one, he can be our number two, or he can be our number three. So, like, for a while, it looked like he was poised. His rookie year at 11 touchdowns looked like he was going to be that number one guy. Then Deontay's a better route runner. Deontay becomes the number one. Chase becomes number two. Pickens comes in. We're still not really sure who's winning. Looks like Claypool's actually doing better than Pickens right now, but that could be they're feeding the ball to get up his trade value. They also could not be trading him. We don't know. But as far as what I think makes the most sense, not only does Claypool have the size and the ability to be 1, 2, or 3, I'm pretty sure Jerry Jeudy is a blue chip talent. Dude went to like Alabama. He did go to Alabama and was drafted 10th overall. He would be pissed being our number 3. He'd be pissed being our number 2. He thinks he's better than Wan'Dale. So even though Claypool thinks he's better than Wan'Dale, and like he was talking about Randy Moss about being like a top 3 or number 1 receiver in the league, he also has been the number 3 on a crappy team right now and is okay in putting up numbers. Technically, maybe he's the number 2 based on the target, but he's playing the slot. He's not being treated as the number 1 diva receiver that he thinks he is, and he's okay in putting up numbers. So I'm okay with that. And then Pittsburgh is a harsher city fan-wise than Denver. Denver is a bunch of happy stoners. So like if Claypool and Jeudy come out here and suck, I actually have more faith in Claypool to do well. He's like viral on TikTok, puts himself out there all the time. Whenever he does bad, people are like, stop going on TikTok and work on football. Look at Chase Claypool. He's one of the top 1% most fit players in the NFL. I promise you he puts in work. He may not put in as much work as like a Marvin Harrison or an AJ Green, but I'll bet you he puts in more work than Kadarius Toney. And I'll also bet you he spends more time in the gym and studying playbook than Jerry Jeudy. Dude also always has his phone in his hand because he's TikToking. If he has a coach, or if they're smart, he has a coach can just send him some plays to look at. Dude's on his phone, will probably look at it. He had 11 touchdowns as a rookie. That means something. They say the transition from the college to the NFL is hard, especially if you don't go to Alabama. Judy's should have been easier. Claypool went to Notre Dame. So, like, he wasn't out here playing against SEC opponents all the time and super tough schools that Jeudy does, yet he still showed up. So Claypool has that it factor. I actually maybe think Jeudy is a better football player or wide receiver, sorry, not football player, at running routes, catching difficult passes. Like he does those kind of things. But, we are talking about football players. The Giants run the ball with Saquon, and Chase can block. And that's the thing. He can run with the ball in his hand. The Giants do jet sweeps with Wan'Dale and Chase. Like, that's terrifying. So I do think Chase is a better fit for our team. So I said week 7. Let's do some week. So anyways, so how I feel about the trade overall is if the Giants make another move this year, I like it. What we have this year going on is a winning culture that Kadarius Toney has not been a part of. So I talked about a sunk cost. We've already spent the first on him. That doesn't matter. We've already won without him. He doesn't matter. So it does make sense to move on. That being said, if we want to win in the playoffs, which we do, we need a third receiver. So go get one. If we go get one now, the trade is a win. If we get even a solid one, say we get like another Wan'Dale next year, someone who's like a Wan'Dale type, not a superstar, but like a really good, solid player next year, the trade could still be seen as a win. But if we fizzle out, like you never know when your next chance of the playoffs are. The Eagles and Cowboys both just got better. They both have young quarterbacks and star receivers. We have solid receivers and Saquon, who might not be on the team next year, and Daniel Jones, who might not be on the team next year. So we have question marks. We need a playmaker. The Giants need to get someone they can build around and someone the harsh New York fan base can be like, oh, I trust the direction of Schoen and Dable. So we do need to make another move right now. Also, the Yankees just got swept by the Astros. Like, come on, New York needs this. And the Knicks, actually, the Knicks look good. So yeah, let's do those week 7 recaps that I have alluded to. Like Thursday, so I have to I'm like, I don't remember what happened. It was a long time ago. I remember what happened in like elementary school. All right, so Ravens Browns. That's not week 7. Oh, it was because the Ravens yesterday was week 8. So Ravens Browns was a good one. it's weird for how much red zone I watched. I didn't see all that much of that game for a 23-20 game, but I did see some JPP deflections. The Justin Houston, Odafe Owe, and JPP is fun. Of course, you're going to see a bunch of running. Of course, Nick Chubb is good. Good hard fought division battle we're going to see for years, or like a couple of years. Can't wait for Deshaun versus Lamar to be popping off. Panthers, Bucks, shocker of the week. PJ Walker brought some life. Everyone's like, holy crap, where'd this come from? Honestly, not that surprising. I think I said it last week. Matt Rule was fired, but also had the current NFL longest streak of not allowing a touchdown on the first drive. The defense is good. When people heard they were selling after McCaffrey and Robbie Anderson got shipped, they were offered 2 firsts for Brian Burns. A dude is like Gumby. He's like a 6'5", 250 Von Miller who just like shoots out of nowhere and like bends and dips. 2 firsts, and they said no. So it's not like this team is a bunch of scrap heaps. Deontay Foreman has always been a talented back who's just had injury problems. Same for Chuba Hubbard coming out of college. And they've got DJ Moore. So it's not like this is some terrible team. They're all NFL teams. It's very rare that you have a laughingstock. That's more in the NBA. When like if you have a team with Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Wiggins, and Draymond, they're not going to lose to a middling team. NFL takes all 11 players to block and do their jobs. Anything can happen any week. So while this was the shocker of the week, hands down, it was not the, oh my God, I can't believe that happened. The Buccaneers have been struggling. Evans has been dinged up. Godwin's been dinged up. Brady's been divorced and dinged up. Their offensive line is in shambles. So yes, it is a big deal. Yes, it happened. But I wish I'd said this before the Buccaneers played yesterday, but I didn't watch that game, so I don't really know how they looked. I am moving, and I am going to confidently say that they looked a lot better than they did against the Panthers. I did see Mike Evans, Moss, Marlon Humphrey on one play. He had like 125 yards. So I heard someone at the store yesterday saying, I hope you're listening, actually, dude from Drivers Market. I heard someone at the store yesterday say the Buccaneers and Packers are washed, and that is true right now. I would not count them out in the playoffs. Like, if you're the Eagles, you'd rather play the Cowboys than the Packers or the Buccaneers. If Aaron Rodgers starts gelling with anyone, that's terrifying. He's already shown chemistry with Dobbs, that guy. He's got chemistry with Lazard. And the defense has been solid. Rashawn Gary's a nightmare. Jair Alexander's a nightmare. And I trust Aaron Rodgers more than I trust Dak Prescott. Tyron Smith's been hurt. And then the Buccaneers don't need to explain that. Offensive line had a lot of problems. It can take them some time to gel. Once they gel, they have an elite defensive unit. Tom Brady, no tight end, and 3 stud receivers. Godwin looked great last week, or his stats looked good yesterday. So the fact, if they can trade for a tight end, they're definitely a team I would not want to see over the Dallas Cowboys. Cincinnati Bengals, Atlanta Falcons, 35-17. Ruined my week in both fantasy leagues. Tyler Boyd went absolutely crazy. Jamar Chase had a non-contact injury. This is a fantasy situation you want to be a part of. By the way, everyone freaked out that Burrow threw 482 and he had like 350 or like 300 at the half. Josh Allen had almost 400 at the half last week. So he's just lucky that the Falcons were able to put up points and the Pittsburgh Steelers weren't. Yes, I'm salty. He was only pressured on 9 of his 45 dropbacks, but that is still not that great. The Bengals, just like the Rams, are not the team they were last year. That is the case a lot. You do have Super Bowl hangovers, but even after Chase left the game, they were still absolutely destroying. It looked crazy. Everything I saw in red zone was just prolific. Falcons are a poop show. I want to see Desmond Ridder in the next 2 weeks. Cowboys 24, Lions 6. There was none of that on red zone. The Dallas Cowboys defense is terrifying. So good. Demarcus Lawrence and Micah Parsons, enough said. Lions this week, I am looking forward to DeAndre Swift coming back. Giants, Jaguars, let's skip that. Nothing to talk about there. Tennessee Titans 19, Indianapolis Colts 10. What a boring game. Matt Ryan lost his job to Sam Ehlinger. They are tanking for Victor. It seems like no one told them Victor is a basketball player, though. They're tanking for like Bryce Young, which is cool. I respect that. 4.3 ADOT for Matt Ryan. Turn the page. Titans are one of those teams you don't want to sleep on. Treylon Burks going to be coming back. Kyle Phillips has been solid, one of those rookies I may or may not have mentioned. Let's see if I did get that whole list off. Did I do that? I don't think I did. Kyle Phillips, Khalil Shakir, Isaiah Likely. Those dudes have showed up this year. And again, Dameon Pierce. So there were some people available if the Giants. So like getting that pick is cool. But again, we do want to win now. Yes, I did have ADHD before I started healing my brain. So the Titans are going to be solid with Kyle Phillips, Treylon, Bobby Trees, Robert Woods. Shout out to Zach Parker on the hilarious nickname. So yeah, and then of course King Henry and a solid defense. So Titans 19, Colts 10, like the exact kind of score I would expect. Commanders 23, Packers 21. Just kidding. Is that at Lambeau? Does it show the winner first? It shows the winner first. I want to know where that is. Looks like that's in Lambeau. There's yellow there. There's Cheeseheads. Yep, there are Cheeseheads. That's in Lambeau. That is a bigger shocker than Panthers Bucks. Devondre Campbell was all over the field. He had a 63-yard pick six. It was athletic and looked crazy. They had another pick six that was nullified by it was a 62-yarder after the 63-yarder. It was nullified by my boy Antonio Gibson, who they are finally spotlighting. Dude looked great. He was getting reps as a receiver. He was outside, did a double move, drew a DPI on that pick six, which nullified it. So glad they're finally letting him shine. Get freaking J.D. McKissic out of there. If Brian Robinson is that guy, let him be that bell cow. Spell him with Gibson, and then let Gibson spell CSAM. So I'm not saying throw out Gibson all the time. Just get him 25 plays a game and 12 to 15 touches. Maybe more like 35 plays and 12 to 18 touches. And then whichever is the way, I'm sorry, fantasy managers, this is the way I feel about it. Whichever, those are two big backs. They're both 6'2", around 230. Gibson lost like 10 pounds down to 220, but like lean. Whichever one you see as your future, use the other one to score touchdowns. I know Robinson is a little more of a battering ram, but Gibson could do it too. So if you really think, is Gibson really that guy? Then they probably should have traded him to like the Niners or some team looking for a running back. I've been hearing that Kareem Hunt could be fetching a fourth. So maybe you don't want to trade Antonio Gibson, who you drafted in the third round, for a fourth rounder. But if you don't want to trade him, then use the man. So I'm glad to see they're finally using him. That's exciting. Here I was just saying the Packers are a threat and they lost to the Washington Commanders, but that defense is terrifying. I don't get to watch much of the Commanders because they've been poop and they're not on red zone very much. But man, that defense, they've got some players all over. Jamin Davis, now middle linebacker, is crazy. 6'4", 240 all over the place. Of course, they've got Deron Payne and Jonathan Allen, those Bama boys in the middle. And the Jets-Broncos, 16-9. I called this. I said the Jets were going to win. I said, I forgot I should have looked at my predictions to see how they all played out. I can probably just remember. But Jets-Broncos, 16-9. It said it was going to be a fun game. It was a fun game. Judy had 7 receptions on 11 targets, 3 explosive plays of 15 yards or more. 73.1 PFF, season high 45 snaps. He looked good. Mossed a couple dudes. Bradley Chubb had a 90.2 grade in run defense, second consecutive 80-plus run defensive grade in as many weeks. So, there's the Broncos defense looks good, but they scored 9 points. So Brett Rippon had some moments where he looked good, but this also goes to show it's not just Russell Wilson's fault. There's maybe some Nathaniel Hackett problems. Maybe the whole team has lost their swag, which could be Russell's fault because, what is that saying? Damn it. Broncos country, let's ride. He's such a dork. Maybe he's just deflated all the balls in that building, not in the way that Brady does, but in a sad way. It is possible it's him, but you can have a situation where the starter is not performing. Tony Romo comes in and sparks the team. Brett Rippon actually does have some tools, can rip the ball, make some throws, and they still put up 9 points. That being said, the Jets defense does have Sauce Gardner. Saleh is a defensive coach. They did just stifle the Dolphins. So, let's not say the Broncos season is over after losing to the Jets. And the Raiders absolutely stomped the Texans 38-20. Elijah Penny was the number one running back and yards expected over attempt by a long shot this year. And number 2 was Josh Jacobs by a long shot. 7 explosive runs today, 11 first down, 7.2 yards per carry, and a season best 3 touchdowns. Second multi-touchdown performance in 3 weeks. He's on an absolute heater. This is one of the best fantasy runs I've ever seen a running back go on. So that's just absolutely crazy. Not going to talk about the Texans more. It's boring. I did say don't fall asleep on the Raiders. I'm proud to have said that. Seahawks Chargers 37-23. Whoa. The Seahawks are for real. Geno has looked good. My friend Ben Bream, who lives in Washington, where I used to go to school, he said, him and I both said that we thought Drew Lock is the better choice. Go with Lock because he's got that Daniel Jones thing. He's an AAU basketball player. He's got that arm talent. He's got that it factor. He can get the franchise thinking going forward. Pete Carroll is a run the ball, do the right thing kind of guy, not make the splashy play. So he went with Geno, and oh my God, Geno is literally better than Russell Wilson. They absolutely stole that trade. I can't believe they mollywopped the Chargers. Derwin James is amazing. DK Metcalf left the game. Marquise Goodwin comes in with his sprint speed and gets 2 touchdowns, looking good. Second touchdown was amazing. I just didn't add him because I think DK is probably going to come back. And I know Locke gets dinged up, so it's like, oh, he could be so great. But it's one of those flash in the pans. I don't think that's going to happen. The Chargers just weren't ready for him. They probably didn't realize he was like that good at this moment. Now that he is, people are going to be ready for that. But yeah, that's just embarrassing. 37-23 is a lot. Ken Walker was all over the place. Very happy that I told my boss to draft Ken Walker in fantasy. I really hope to be getting props for that later. And then Chiefs 44, Niners 23. So happy to silence all. The Niners are the team to beat with CMC. I know I was saying it's cool, but I was also saying same thing I was talking about the due to drivers yesterday and last week. If you think a running back can push the needle, get one before the season starts. And again, I know people said, oh, CMC became available out of nowhere. Saquon was available before the season started. Saquon had 80 catches as a rookie. He's a better prospect than CMC. And he's physically stronger. I know I already said this, but I just don't think selling the farm for CMC moves the needle that much. It's exciting. It makes them more fun to watch, more dangerous, all those things. It just doesn't leapfrog all these other teams. I'm glad that the Chiefs put them in their place. Juju finally showed up, which is terrifying. So if they've got Juju a little bit, Kelsey and Toney, then that allows Sky Moore and Marquez Valdez-Scantling to really just, or whoever it is, to really just go against lesser corners. So one of those dudes, that receiver number 3-4 is going to be going against a worse corner. So that's just absolutely terrifying. And then Chris Jones wrecked things as always. And then Dolphins beat the Steelers 16-10. Wasn't on Red Zone very much. I don't know why. That's because that was on like Monday or Thursday, right? Yeah, it was Sunday night. But Noah Igbenigbe got the game-winning interception there, which is huge. I always say you don't want to just ride your stars. Like the past few years, the Ravens have had Lamar and the running game just dominate every game. You get to the playoffs, you can't do that. So you need your secondary playmakers. You need your James Proches. Oh my God, how did I not talk about James Proche? Let's go. But you need those secondary guys to stand up. So everyone knows that the Dolphins have Xavier Howard and Byron Jones, but you need your Noah Igbenigbe to step up. I don't know how I'm doing on his name, but it feels like I'm doing well. So you love seeing that for them. James Proche season. Let's go. That's what I'm changing the name of this podcast. It is Proche's time to shine. You heard it here first. James Proche season. Andrews hurt. Bateman hurt. Gus Bus hurt. JK's always hurt. Let's go. 4 minutes in the game, before Andrews was hurt, before Bateman's hurt, got a 6-yard reception in the red zone. They're looking to him. They trust him. Dial up more plays for James Proche. If you're in like a best ball league or a league with 14 or more people, absolutely add him. Spend that fab on him. If you're in a 10 or 12 person league, you're going to be frustrating because Lamar Jackson is frustrating. They run the ball a lot. He throws random touchdowns to people like Isaiah Likely. He's someone you should add because tight end is a very narrow position. So use that fab on Isaiah Likely. If Andrews is going to be out, you're thinking like 13 to 17 fab unlikely. Tight ends are hard to find. Lamar uses tight ends, always has. So likely looked good. And oh my God, those Giants, that game with the Jaguars was great. I talked about Etienne versus Kenyon Drake, who to start. Gus Bus comes in and poaches 2 touchdowns, and Etienne gets James Robinson traded to the Jags because he showed up. He is running back 1. I'm glad in my work league I drafted him in the 3rd round because I was right. It feels so good to be right. Even if I don't win, even if he doesn't lead me to fantasy stardom, just knowing I didn't draft some bust feels great. All that Etienne season hype was there for a reason. Trevor Lawrence at 1, pair him up with his teammate. It's a good looking duo going forward. And they ran with absolutely no problem against the Giants. It was kind of terrifying. So let's get some speed into that defense. Let Jalen Smith run free. Let him do whatever he wants. I trust that man. One thing I forgot to say about the Steelers is, and another reason it makes more sense to trade for Claypool is their receiver team. They can just draft random receivers in 2nd, 3rd round. Same thing with the Cowboys. They just have random dudes showing up, playing defense all the time. So if you get someone they ship off like a Jalen Smith, that's someone I want. So I trust Jalen Smith. Let him be free. I just saw the other day, Clinton Dix is a free agent. Like, sign someone like him. And then they just got Landon Collins back. On passing downs, if you have those 3 in there, they're way faster than the average linebacker. You put them in a zone, and they're going to just blow up tight ends. So maybe Clinton Dix had some injuries and lost some speed, but I really would love to see Landon and Jalen in on nickel packages. And you try and sneak a run in there, Landon Collins is going to mollywop you. So I don't know why I said that twice in this podcast, but Jalen Smith can thump too. So, but yeah, Etienne looked great. T-Law looked decent, made some plays at times. Jalen Jones does what he always does. Good enough. Saquon had like 7 yards in the first half and still ended with 80 yards from scrimmage. He's the only player this year to have 85 yards from scrimmage in every game, which is crazy because that means Nick Chubb didn't do that once. I didn't realize that before. And Nick Chubb is like Mr. Consistent. Or does that sound like super? Oh, he had 56 yards against the Patriots. Wow. Just because they fell behind. 12 carries, 56 yards, 4.7 average. Nick Chubb is a 5.9 average this year, bettering his NFL best mark of 5.4. And by the way, Khalil Herbert has yards per carry of 6.2 this year. Time to start getting him in fantasy draft. I'm glad I've got him in my work league. He's clearly the superior back to David Montgomery. He got a receiving touchdown last year, and the carries were close. It was like 15 for Montgomery and 12 for Herbert. So there's definitely some takeover going on there. What was I talking about? James Prochet. So yeah, James Prochet. Oh my God, James Prochet. Definitely route running master. Get him in there. But yeah, the Giants. It looked good. Very confident in the way the team is operating. Apparently Evan Neal's injury isn't too long, so that's good for our playoff hopes. We're about to go into Seattle this week. So this is a real test. A few weeks ago, I was like, oh, Seattle and the Lions and Jaguars, that's an easy schedule. But, going into Seattle is not easy. Geno's looked great. Thank God the DK and Lockett are banged up, so maybe we stand a better chance than we would normally. It's going to be a good test. I'm excited to see. Overall, I do think we're going to come out on top. The Giants just have been doing what it takes to win. Kenneth Walker is a young player, and Etienne is kind of that fast guy who can get away from us. I know Kenneth Walker is fast, but he's like straight line fast like Derrick Henry. He's not like super explosive in the first moment and gets out to the outside instantly. You kind of need the second to get going. I'm sure the Chargers are going to disagree with that statement, but Dexter Lawrence shows up. I do think if they just try and slam the ball up the middle and to the outside, Dexter Lawrence is going to do something to show up otherwise. So at the end of the day, I do think the Giants are going to pull it out. They've got that magic going, and I know that the Seahawks do too, but something just tells me the Giants are going to win. So I'll try and hop on next couple days and do some predictions for this next week. And oh my God, the Yankees lost, and I just totally forgot the World Series is happening. My phone, no one's giving me any. It's not. It's the first game's tomorrow. That's why. So first game is tomorrow. Let's see. Today is Friday. First game is today. Phillies Astros. Aaron Nola, Justin Verlander. It's in Houston. Houston has mostly righties in Jordan. Nola's got a good changeup. He's been on fire. Bryce Harper can hit a Verlander. I'm going Phillies. Phillies take game one. Cheaters go down. Giants win. Actually, since I am moving, might not have time to do another episode. Let's get those week 8 predictions in. Cardinals, Vikings. It's in Viking Town. The Vikings have been really good. Got to go with the Vikings. Raiders, Saints, got to go with the Raiders. Andy Dalton's playing. Why is Andy Dalton playing? That team is like my friend Ben Maher was saying that here on the podcast that Alvin Kamara has been the least, by far, the least lucky skill player in fantasy the past few years. He's had a bad quarterback situation, random injuries, too many carries for Mark Ingram type players. A boy Taysom Hill stealing touchdowns from him. Just a really unfortunate time for Alvin Kamara. He was dinged up and not playing well last year, but he is doing a little better this year, so he's looking good, just not translating fantasy-wise. So you could say, oh, he's looking good, but not translating. He's due to regression to the mean and get better, but no, he's not. It's Taysom Hill and Andy Dalton. So Raiders probably going to take that one, even though it's in the Superdome. The Saints season, they don't think of themselves as contenders, whereas Derek Carr, Devontae Adams, Josh Jacobs, they are contenders. So that they can compete with Mahomes. They almost beat Mahomes. So the Raiders should take that. Patriots, Jets. Patriots are 3-4. Jets are 5-2. This is going to be a game. Patriots always beat up on the division rivals until like Josh Allen showed up. So the Jets have it in for them. I know they're at home. I know they have some momentum. But they got a new running back with James Robinson. That can always be weird. Michael Carter has looked like a plotter. I am not sure what's going to happen here. Bailey Zappi is kind of a wild card. I don't know enough about him. They did lose 33-14 to the Bears last week. So that makes me think with what's going down, the Jets are going to come out on top. Texans at 4-2 versus the 4-1 Texans. Obviously, did I say Texans versus Texans? Obviously, we're going with the Titans, the 4-2 Titans. And then Niners, Rams. That is probably the game of the week. They're all like game of the week. So what am I talking about? Aaron Donald versus McCaffrey. That's a fun one. The Niners are coming off a bad loss. The Rams have been awful. I've seen nothing from the Rams I liked except for Aaron Donald. So I'm going Niners big time. Not like big time, but like 20-17 Niners. Giants 6-1. Seahawks 4-3. That's gonna be fun. Giants usually play at 10 in the morning. That's weird. I'm not used to seeing them at 1:25, which is cool because I'm always like red zoning and distracted. So I'm gonna be honed in on my Giants. That's gonna be great. And then Packers Bills at 5:20. Y'all are about to. For those who don't know, Josh Allen is about to shove. Aaron Rodgers always comes to play after a loss. He's going to want this win at Sunday night, and he's not going to get it. They're going to get smashed. Smashed. No, it's not going to be that bad. But it will be more than one score. Like, or maybe, the final score will be like 30-22, but like after a field goal made it from 30-19 to 30-22 with like 2 minutes left. Like, it's going to be like the Bills are in control. Stephon Diggs is the number 1 receiver in fantasy this year. I didn't even know that. Like, he hasn't even popped that hard. He's just doing regular Stephon Diggs and Josh Allen things. Khalil Shakir is solid. Isaiah McKenzie's solid. James Cook got a touchdown recently. Like, this team is just popping on all cylinders. The defense is ridiculous. Tremaine Edmonds, Von Miller, Kyer Elam's good. Like, it's a wrap. Like, the Bills are going to win. They're going to win the Super Bowl. Bills, country, let's go. Speaking of countries, Broncos doing us a favor, playing at 6:30 in the morning on Sunday, so no one has to watch that poop versus the Jaguars. Broncos country, let us not ride that game. And then also Panthers, Falcons. I don't know why. Oh, those are like my favorite teams, I guess. Panthers is all the boring ones now. No wonder I liked all those games so much. We got Panthers, Falcons at 10. Let's go, Panthers. Keep the momentum going. Go, go, go. Use that defense. Brian Burns, get Mariota. Bench, I want to see Desmond Ridder. That being said, this could go either way. I don't know that much about the Panthers and the Falcons. None of us do. None of us care about the Panthers and Falcons. Panthers have a good defense. DJ Moore looks good last week. Panthers, I guess, whatever. Bears, Cowboys, ew. Like, gross. Cowboys are going to destroy in a really ugly game. Not destroy. Justin Fields is a competitor. He's going to be able to run around Parsons and D-Law and throw the ball away. Won't take as many sacks as other quarterbacks. Dude's super, super athletic, but they are going to lose. Dolphins, Lions. That's the trap game. Lions are better than a 1-5 team. They've struggled recently, but they're going to show up. It's at home. Dolphins have not had that swag going. Dan Campbell is going to make sure his kiddies are not kiddies, and our Lions are going to roar, and they're still going to lose. But they're going to lose better than they have been. Eagles are going to be undefeated still. They're going to be 7-0. They're playing the 2-5 Steelers. They also just got Robert Quinn for a fourth. Had a boy Tristan is an Eagles fan. He was lots of shout outs today. He wasn't super excited about the Eagles getting 32-year-old Robert Quinn. But as I said, he's in that Von Miller mold. He's like a Gumby. Dude, even though he's lost some speed, he can still bend. He got 18.5 sacks like 2 years ago for the Bears. Like, he can play. He can play. And they have like Jordan Davis, Fletcher Cox, Brandon Graham, so many people on that line. There's not going to be a good person to block him. He's not going to get tight end help. He's going to be like single covered. He's going to do damage. Cowboys also got Jonathan Hankins, 6'4", 340, former Giant. Love that dude. He was 325 in the Giants. He's bulked up. I don't know how kind of bulk that is, or maybe he was just lying about his weight before. Dude's always been a beast. I've always liked him. I was pissed we didn't re-sign him. When a DT really gets that big contract, you got to let him go. He did get a big contract. After he fizzled out, they should have gotten him back. He's kind of just like a guy you get for 1 year now. So we should have gotten him back. We know how good he is. The Raiders traded a 6 for him. I absolutely hate that. They had a top 10 run defense. Now that could affect their run defense. Maybe they have someone that we don't know about to replace him. But that being said, someone producing that well, a 6-rounder is not worth it. You're also telling your fan base, like, we don't care about you guys. We're playing for the future. But by future, we're getting a 6-round pick. So I just hate stuff like that. Hate it, hate it, hate it. Oh, my God, another poop one. Commanders 3-4 versus 3-1 Colts. Hopefully, Wentz doesn't play. Heineke, who's a baller. Love that guy. Sorry for not shouting you out for beating Aaron Rodgers. That's awesome. Just learned after every win, he buys cleats of the opponent team and wears them and struts around him in the next week. So he's going to be in some green and yellow cleats, rocking that green and yellow, green and yellow, green and yellow, because the Rodgers is not – no, I'm not going to knock Aaron Rodgers. I like Aaron Rodgers. But yeah, so if Heineke gets hurt, we're going to be looking at who's that dude who's supposed to go first overall but isn't good. Oh, come on, Graham, you can do this. So Sam Erlinger on the Commanders, and that's the guy who was supposed to be the first overall pick. I'm going to have to cheat. Hit up the Redskins, our lads. Come on, before it loads, you can do this. You can do this. Bad feeling. Sam Howell. Yep. Wentz is not even on the depth chart right now, so he's hurt. So Sam Howell is their number 2. He's a good runner, so it would be fun to see Erlinger versus Howell. But that would be funny. Commanders, Colts. Commanders, I guess. They just beat the Packers, and they have a great defense. Bengals, Browns, fun division matchup. Bengals 4-3, Browns 2-5. Both teams better than their record. Bengals are going to pull that one out. And I know it's cheating. Ravens, Bucks, 27-22 already happened. Where was it? It was in Raymond James Stadium. Yeah, I probably would have thought that the Ravens would have won, but it doesn't count. So I'm not going to say that. So game of the week. What is the game of the week? Patriots, Jets is amazing. Niners, Rams is amazing. Packers, Bills. Honestly, it's got to be Giants, Seahawks. I know there's the storylines, Niners, Rams, storylines of the Patriots, Jets, of like the past and like intrigue, but really it's the two best teams that are playing well and are surprising. And I mean, the best overall record of all these slates, the only teams combined for 10 wins are my G-Men and the Seahawks. 6-1, they have the second best record in the league. I had not realized that yet. The Giants have the second best record in the league. Let's go. Let's go. Happy Friday, y'all. Have a good weekend.